Hello. Alright, so this is gonna seem a little bit weird at first, but there's a reason I'm like this, okay? This is my bootleg Halloween costume. It was a very last minute thing, so that's why I look like this. Uh Usually I would have liked to put more effort into it, but literally like a week ago I decided I want to dress up as something for Halloween. Because I didn't have any plans to do it at first, but then I decided to. Um, but I am showing you my costume because it is a TMNT costume. Now, it's not very apparent what TMNT character I am, but I figured it'd be fun for you guys to guess in the comments, and I'll have you guys guess what character I am. So, in the next episode, I will, in the intro segment, tell you guys what my costume was and see if anyone gets a lucky guess. Um, it's not very apparent what this is. I highly doubt anyone's gonna guess it. I don't expect anyone to guess it. Um, but that's basically it. This episode will be the Donnie and Wingnut episode, which, if I remember correctly, was a very deep episode and one that was very complex for the character of Wingnut, something that we hadn't seen up until this point. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alrighty, here we go. One thing that does not make sense in this scene here is that Goldfin and the East River 3 are coming out of the water already in clothing, which can't be right because at the end of the previous episode, we got a glimpse into their origin story, and it showed that when they were mutated, they did not have clothes. So, at some point between now and then, they had to have acquired clothes before they ever even came up to the surface, which does not make any sense to me.
Those freaks! Monsters.
Did you see the shade my wife threw at me? You don't walk away from that.
Okay, this is kind of justified from Sally, though. He has a reason to be mad and want to do all the bad things he ends up doing throughout this series, bro. If his wife literally left him because of this tragic accident, he has every right to be frustrated.
Do you love animals like we do? Then come to Bob's Gently Plucked Chicken Factory. The most loved chickens are the most delicious.
Okay, here's some more tie-ins back to the Megazord arc from the first half of this series. There appears to be more details given here about Bob, the owner of the chicken factory. I don't know if it was clarified that Bob was the owner of the chicken factory. If I remember correctly, someone named Bob was mentioned in the Purple Dragons episode with Raph, but I'm not entirely sure if it was directly mentioned that he owned the chicken factory. I think it was only mentioned that he was their boss. So knowing that he's the owner of the chicken factory may or may not change some minor information. Doesn't really mean much, but it's still cool to see.
Hey, can we maybe speed things up? Because we've been doing this for like an hour and 4 minutes, and I need this to be social media length.
If I recall correctly, Donatello had gone to plug things in somewhere. But then, things got even more exciting when Leonardo...
Wait a minute, what? Are you seriously gonna skip the part where I almost got eaten by a monster?
Ah, yes, of course. We have to keep the Ninja Turtles tradition of Master Splinter favoriting Leo and absolutely kicking Donnie to the dumpster. Gotta love to see them continue the trend.
Come on, Wingnut, you're just being paranoid. Have you been doom scrolling again?
No, maybe.
Okay, so this entire universe of TMNT that started with the Mutant Mayhem movie and now the Tales of the TMNT series has tried to remain consistent in using modern-day slang that the Turtles use. For the most part, it's implemented okay. It's mainly used for comedic effect. It doesn't really work most of the time, but it's there. It's being somewhat relevant with the times, and I guess that's something. But Donnie, of all the four turtles, in my opinion, does the best at accurately representing what a teenager does and, like, words and things they use. Like, doom scrolling here is something that a teenager would probably use in response to Wingnut's paranoia.
You want a banana? I brought a full bushel for the rats.
No, I can't. They trigger my gag reflex.
Sure. We should keep going.
You know, throughout this entire series, I've been wondering what Donnie keeps in his fanny pack. Like, he carries one around, he has to be putting something important in there, just for it to be revealed that it's a bundle of bananas. So, apparently, Donnie has to keep his potassium levels at an all-time high at all times in combat.
You think I haven't tried that?
Whoa! It was just a suggestion.
Sorry, You couldn't have put the generator somewhere a little more spacious? Or just siphoned off power from the outside world like the rest of them old people?
You ever studied the vulnerability of power grids? You couple that with the changes in weather phenomena, it's a ticking time bomb.
Can't argue with that logic.
I will say, Donnie is a very good friend to Wingnut. What I mean by this is, throughout this entire episode, Wingnut has a lot of panic and claustrophobia issues that get the best of her throughout this episode. But Donnie, in 90% of these scenarios, handles things very well and does a good job of calming Wingnut down without provoking her. It's very, very well done, and it's a good showcase of how good and compassionate of a character Donnie is.
Whoa, are you okay?
Does it look like any part of me is okay? I need to get out of here! It's like I can't breathe! And it's dark. Why is it so dark?
You're in a sewer. Historically, they're dark. There's nothing down here to be afraid of. Come on, we'll do it together.
Once again, more demonstration of how good of a friend Donnie is. Donnie understands Wingnut, and knowing that using logic and reasoning is a good way to calm Wingnut down. Wingnut is a logical person, much like Donnie is. Using logic and naturally explaining things to her in a reasonable way that she can wrap her head around helps calm Wingnut down. This is the second time he's done it, and I'm pretty sure he does it a couple of other times throughout this episode.
Hey, turn that up.
Found in the East River, the Jersey Bite is thought to be one of the biggest pearls in the world.
No.
It's on loan to the Natural History Museum right here in New York City, so don't miss it.
Here's another thing for you. It's clarified by Goldfin himself that the East River 3 and the little urchin guys all learned to talk through commercials. However, the urchins had a hard time wrapping their heads around the language and only repeated direct lines from commercials. They couldn't make their own sentences. However, Goldfin and the East River 3 were able to do so. But what doesn't make sense is that here it appears as though the urchins are being exposed to commercials for the first time, while the East River 3 were able to talk without watching commercials earlier and before they ever saw commercials. So it doesn't make any sense. If they learned to talk through commercials, they couldn't have learned and then just miraculously started talking.
I think she's just really unsure of herself, like she's not fitting in.
Hey, I get it. It takes a real minute to find your niche. She's an Australian in New York. Not to mention the whole mutant alligator thing.
I checked out her search history, and it was all these articles on demutation. I mean, is that even possible?
Okay, wow, this took a unexpected turn. Leatherhead appears, or in Wingnut's eyes, appears to be struggling with herself and finding some kind of reasoning behind being a mutant. It's a really sensitive subject, and I think it could be a dark take on a certain thing that I'm not going to mention, but a mutant version of that would be demutinizing yourself. It's a very, very dark subject if you really think about it in the context of mutants, and it's especially dark when you consider the fact that Wingnut uses that as a reference later and says she wished she could be just a tiny little bat again, too.
Innocent man, simply trying to make a living. Not some crime boss running the rackets on the east side with his vast network of criminal associates.
All right, this interview is over.
Don't forget to come down to my club, Bad Bernie's Billiards. For prices so cheap, they're a steal.
No, they're not.
Or are they?
Hey, there's Bad Bernie. He was a pretty big part of the first movie, and I'm pretty sure we haven't seen him since then. So cool to see he's still around. Seems like he's getting into some legal trouble too, which is to be expected for Bad Bernie.
The TCRI tranquilizers. It's what we use on Super Duper Fly. But how could she have gotten one?
The dark web. Or maybe she broke into their lab?
Yeah, and she was all like, "Oi, mate, give me one of those demutinizing blasters or I'ma eat you like a dingo."
That's a terrible impression. It's more like, "G'day, bloke."
Okay, I do believe that Donnie had the better Australian accent and impression. I will stand by this. Donnie was right.
It's wet, it's dark, there's monsters, and oh man, this is the end.
Wingnut, stop. I'm trying to think, and all your neuroses are stressing me out.
Maybe Leatherhead was right all along. I just want to be a tiny bat again and fly away.
Hey, it's okay. I know you're feeling stuff. I'm sorry, I'm not good at this whole feelings thing.
Here's the scene I was referencing before, and how Donnie utilizes his mentality that he knows Wingnut also has to try and calm and comfort Wingnut. Donnie's probably one of the only people that could comfort Wingnut in these kind of scenarios because he knows Wingnut better than anyone else. They're very similar in their logic and reasoning, and they're very big nerds. And Donnie in the scene here goes on to compare what's happening now to different fictional characters and scenarios they've been in. Something that Wingnut knows about and would help comfort her knowing that they made it through those things and that she could too. It's weird, but it works within the context of the characters, and I think it's a very unique way of handling a very intense scenario.
Technically, Tetsuo didn't, but thanks, Donnie. Wow, I feel a lot better.
Oh, come on, again?
Alright, so throughout this entire series, I've been glazing Raph and how he's had some insane feats of strength. But Raph has had some good feats of strength. But Donnie might have just taken the cake. Because what on earth, bro? Like, he just ripped that metal pole from the concrete, which I know for a fact cannot be an easy thing to do, especially for someone of Donnie's stature.
You're right. I've been trying to use logic to get us out of this. But what if my brothers have been right the whole time?
What are you doing?
Logic ain't getting us out of this corner. I need to do it on a reptilian level. On instinct. Bright brain style. If Leatherhead's in there, I can connect with her. She won't hurt me. We're friends.
Okay, here we go. We're keeping up with more traditional TMNT tropes here. Donnie has to not use his brain and not think too hard about things and completely rely on instinct. It's a topic that's brought up pretty frequently throughout TMNT, that Donnie overthinks things a lot. And this is another example of him learning to think less and just do.
Donatello?
Wait, that didn't come from...
What are you doing, mate?
Leatherhead!
Wait, but if you're there, then...
Yeah, my number one question is, where on earth has Leatherhead been this entire time? She was the only one of the Mutanimals, aside from Bebop and Rocksteady, who weren't at the Turtles' lair staying with them whenever the flooding happened. So Leatherhead just either didn't show up or showed up and then left, but that itself isn't even mentioned, so clearly the Turtles were not paying any attention to where Leatherhead was or what she was doing.
Thought maybe it was a sign that I shouldn't be a mutant anymore.
What happened?
Stupid alligator bit me, didn't it? The whole group of them were really quite unpleasant. I think I'm ready to accept being a mutant.
And I need to accept I'm not like my brothers. I'm me. I'm left-brained, and I need to have faith in that.
I guess that answers why Leatherhead wanted to become demutated. She just wanted to become a normal alligator because she thought she'd be able to get along with the other normal alligators she found in the sewers. However, I guess after some time spent with them, she realized that they weren't all that great, and being a mutant would probably be her best bet. But Donnie here in this scene has a complete backpedal from what the scene prior was stating. Now he's going back to being proud of who he is and being a left-brained individual and not being right-brained, which is completely different from what his original statement was, and therefore breaks the trend and tradition of Donnie trying to be more simple.
Lend me your wrench.
You just carry a wrench with you wherever you go?
And bananas.
Ah, okay. Bananas are the only thing he keeps in his fanny pack. He keeps a single wrench, too. Very, very important items in that fanny pack.
No! Just like Akira!
I love how Donnie is in the water fighting for his life against the alligator, and Wingnut and Leatherhead are just sitting off to the side talking about Akira. They're so useless.
Oh, crikey, my hip!
What in the world?
Ah, just flip her over, mate. Cuts off the blood supply to the noggin. She'll have a nice little kip.
Yeah, not only did Leatherhead sit there and not do anything the entire time, she failed to provide any information that there were multiple alligators and the fact that if you flipped them over, that they would be knocked unconscious. Leatherhead was completely useless in this scene.
It's that eel! What do we do?
Hide! Raph?
Donnie, we're in trouble, man.
So basically, this scene here does make a large amount of sense. Out of all the turtles who would meet each other during their individual missions, it would make the most sense for Raph and Donnie to meet each other, as they were both trapped in the sewers after Lee the eel started doing all that stuff with their tunnels, and they were both trying to figure out what was going on. So it's fair to reason that they would run into each other.
An ad for fish and chips?
Yeah. We need your help, Bad Bernie.
And here we go. Here's the team up between the East River 3 and Bad Bernie. I am not gonna lie, it's kind of messed up that Bad Bernie's eating sushi right in front of Goldfin. Like, I don't think you understand how unbelievably messed up that is. Alrighty, and with that, this episode is over. This episode was jam-packed. There was all kinds of info to dissect, and there was a lot of really deep moments, and probably some of the most emotional moments we've seen throughout the entire series, and not even just we've seen so far, but throughout the entire series and this entire universe. This is about as intense as it gets. There wasn't really a lot of combat or a lot of things added to the story of the overall East River 3 story arc, but individually, there were some really strong character moments for Donnie, Wingnut, and Leatherhead. That in combination with small amounts of details that we didn't know before makes this episode one of my favorites I've broken down so far, and it might even end up being my longest video yet. So, shout out to my goat Donnie. He's the best turtle. Don't at me, bro. Donnie is literally the best turtle. But with that, the episode will be over. And make sure you guess what my Halloween costume is in the comments below. It is a Halloween TMNT themed costume, alright? I will tell you that. And since you stuck around to the end of the video, I will tell you it's from a 2012 character. Not an exclusive TMNT 2012 character, but a character that, or a reoccurring character that has a incarnation in 2012 that my costume is based off of. There's one character I can think of that you guys are going to guess, but it's not correct, and I highly doubt anyone's going to get it. But we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching, and feel free to show me some support below if you enjoyed the video.